raised by gangs, man. Ended up getting jumped into the gang when I was probably like 15, and I hit the ground running, man. I ended up being shot, stabbed. I got metal from ear to ear and broke all my ribs. My knuckles displaced from fighting so much. So it was rough. And later on in my life, after learning all that criminal activity that I learned from being in the streets, I ended up getting caught with a case and going to prison for a little second. So the typical black man in the hood story.
We at 221 South 52nd Street, ACAF. We got a special guest, Yahki, today.
How you feeling, bro?
Likewise, we got the Coles, B. McFly's in the building.
Peace.
So a very special episode today. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I just want to start by asking you, what's your thoughts on ACAF being here, first and foremost?
It's powerful. What y'all doing for the community. They say art imitates life, and we know the structures and just the sacred geometry of certain shapes, man. I see y'all channeling a lot of ancestral memory in here, man. This is powerful, and this is like a place that's cultural, so it brings people back to a foundation. You really don't get that in the hood. If you walk around the hood, especially where I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, you see Chinese stores. We ain't from China
at all.
You see all these health beauty salons wearing hair that ain't a part of ours. So it's good to have something you can have your children self-identify with. So to me, this reminds me of a cultural identification portal. So man, this is powerful. I'm glad y'all got this here, man. This is amazing, bro, for real.
Yeah, this is definitely have been the hub for so many years, like the beautiful Queen stated earlier, and we just happy to have you, man. The holistic leader, the powerful speaker, the entrepreneur, the black man, that's leading our community into victory. We honor you, brother. So I wanted to jump right in because you and I share similar backgrounds. You were raised by your grandmother.
Yeah, I was raised by my grandmother in a house of 18 people.
Oh, I thought it was 17. It was 18.
18 people.
And this was in Illinois, correct?
Yeah, I was born in Alton, Illinois. I ain't moved over into St. Louis, Missouri until I was 10.
Wow, man. So how was it growing up in a household of 17 family members?
It was tribal, man. It was very supportive. I mean, of course we fought and everything a lot, but it was it was tribe. You know what I'm saying? I just seen all the support. I wore all the hand-me-downs from my uncles and from my big cousins. I never wanted from nothing. I didn't even know we was poor until I got rich. So, you know what I'm saying? It's crazy, man. My grandma used to turn scraps into whole meals. Man, I just remember a lot of fighting, a lot of loving, a lot of hugging, a lot of crying, going to church. My mother was Muslim, so I was getting stretched between 4 different religions.
Right.
My uncles was Hebrew Israelites. My mama was a Muslim. My grandma, she was Christian. So, man, I had the best of all worlds in that house, man. And like I said, we didn't have nothing, but it was so much love in that house, and we made everything stretch so much that I really didn't even know we didn't have nothing until I really started going to school.
Well, before I pass it off to Rashawn, I just want to say you were raised under rich character.
Yeah.
So rich character oversees the quote-unquote poorness, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's a blessing.
Powerful.
Peace and Pan-Africanism. This is the Prince of Pan-Africanism, King Kong Consciousness, Dr. Umar Ifatunde. I'm live and direct at ACAF, African Cultural Arts Forum. I've been coming here since I was 20 years old, a baby Garvey. I don't cease to be more. Y'all better pull up to ACAF right here. My elders been holding this down forever. We got everything you need. We got the incense. We got the shea butter. We got the sea moss. We got the herbs. We got African jewelry. We got African artwork. You will see some of this artwork inside of the FDMG Academy, but make sure you pull up. If you got a black bookstore, if you got a cultural center, a cultural shop, a beauty salon, you must come and stock up on the products that ACAF has in here, coming directly to you from the mother continent of Africa. Hit that website, acaf.us, acaf.us, and show your black love, because there will be no black power without the black dollar. One love.
I want to ask you about your upcoming in St. Louis. You I know, like, I heard a lot of stories about that city. I've never been there before.
Yeah.
I know it's like very violent.
Yeah, it's
like
the
that,
murder
so
capital of the United States of America.
That's what I heard. So, how was you raised when it comes to like being in the streets, gangs affiliated, things like that?
Typical, man. You know, my father wasn't in my life like he was supposed to be. My uncles, all of them was gang leaders. So when I moved over, you know, I was born in Illinois, but I've been back and forth. A lot of people don't know that Illinois and Missouri right next to each other. So I literally had to take a 10-minute ride and cross the bridge, and I was we call St. Louis the city. But man, I grew up. My mama was at work all the time. My father wasn't around, so you know that left me to the streets. So I was raised by gangs, man. Ended up getting jumped into the gang when I was probably like 15, and I hit the ground running, man. I ended up being shot, stabbed. I got metal from ear to ear and broke all my ribs. My knuckles displaced from fighting so much. So it was rough. And later on in my life, after learning all that criminal activity that I learned from being in the streets, I ended up getting caught with a case and going to prison for a little second. So the typical black man in the hood story.
Now you've been through it. I'm gonna ask you more about your gang culture because in Philly we don't got gangs as like St. Louis. So could you explain to somebody like myself, like the type of gangs y'all have and how do you join the gang?
So in gang culture in St. Louis, the same as Illinois. You see a lot of Bloods and Crips in St. Louis, but the original gangs in St. Louis is GDs, BDs, Vice Lords. You know what I'm saying? The Almighties and stuff like that. But, you know, even though I got jumped into a typical gang, we had our own gang called the Black Mob Street Gang, which was super big out there. Man, it was super big out there. But, you know, what's crazy is a lot of them brothers that's still alive now, and there's a lot that's dead and gone, but the ones that left over, man, a lot of them done changed their life over and now following the path to consciousness. So, yeah, so we more of neighborhood gangs and street gangs based off of where you grew up at, and not like Blood and Crip sets and stuff like. So it's basically if we grew up together, we created a gang and we was banging with other families and other streets down the way.
Right. And is it a literature? I mean, I see certain games you gotta learn the literature to join.
Yes. It's still you still gotta know your lit. It's still morals. It's still cultural boundaries and sets. I mean, I don't think you can't really. Yeah, it's most definitely politics. I don't think you can even call yourself a gang unless it's organized. You can't organize something without writing it down. And whenever you write down something, it's gonna create limitations and boundaries, which is gonna make you write a literature. Right. So yeah, we had all of that.
Okay.
So when you're speaking about gangs, right? And I don't want to, stick on this topic, but is prevalent to what's going on in the United States of America, right? Yeah. Especially dealing with Illinois, especially dealing with St. Louis. For some odd reason, like Rashawn stated, like we don't have typical gangs in Philadelphia. I don't know why. However, you say you didn't have a father around.
Yeah.
Did joining a gang give you some type of love, some type of bind, like growing up?
It did, but I mean, I look at it from more of a conscious aspect. If you look at if you go into Africa or if you study the ancient cultures of the Americas, the indigenous people just, I don't want to say globally, but worldwide, you notice that we are tribal people.
Correct.
So, transgenerational epigenetic inheritance is a real thing. It's these spontaneous epigenetics that is passed down through the generations from the ancestors. We started off as a tribal people. So when you don't have that tribe, and then me coming from a tribe of 18 people plus my grandma and my grandpa and my great-grandmother and stuff like that, when you feel alone, you're going to tend to you're going to yearn for what you know. And I'm known for being tribal. So I think, the gangs worldwide the way they are is because of our ancestor, our genetic code has been passed down. It's in our DNA to be a part of a tribe. And I just think we use it in the wrong aspect now because, we used to tribe up for community. Now we tribe up, to basically do criminal activity for us to survive. But it's the same thing. So I never looked at the gang as a bad thing. I looked at it as being part of something because I always was a part of something. So that's crazy. I ain't got no gang activity out here like that though.
We don't got gangs of Philly.
We don't. We have. Okay, so it's not the typical gang. Like you said, the GDs, the like all of those things, the Bloods, the Crips. But you have people that come together.
Yeah,
it's more so like a block thing.
Like blocks and neighborhoods.
Blocks. It's like more like blocks, less than like over on the West Coast. Even in New York or even in like Newark, New Jersey, like a community will be like full of Bloods or full of Crips or something like that. Not saying that they don't beef and stuff.
It was
like
crazy
that.
though. They didn't start off like that. The whole purpose and point of tribe or gang or clique is to survive the struggle. Like the Crips is community, revolution, and progress. Bloods, brotherly love over our oppressors. You know, when you look at GDs, that's literally growth and development. Or gangster disciples, you're being a disciple for something. When you look at vice lords, all these things were literally coalitions coming together to save the community from the police.
Nobody never broke that down.
You see what I'm saying? So when you really look at what gangs was, the fundamental principles of gangs, it was to come together as tribe to uplift the community. You don't start seeing gangs really get bad until you see the CIA start dropping off dope, crack cocaines, and rushing AK-47s into the streets of Los Angeles, or you see them start, you know, selling alcohol and stuff in the streets of the black community. So gangs was initially to uplift the neighborhood and to protect it from the government.
Wow.
Then you see government infiltration in 1980 and 1982. Then you start seeing the crack epidemic by the CIA, and then you start seeing alcohols and all these different stores get put up in the communities. Then they deindustrialize black people working at the factories, and once they deindustrialized black people working at the factories and took the jobs from us, we didn't. The only thing we had left over was crack cocaine, alcohol, and guns. So you start seeing the leaders of the community say, "Dang, well, my mama still got to eat, my children still got to eat, my wife and my sister still got to eat." So they went to the things that the CIA put in the communities after they stripped all of our jobs from us. And then you see this creation of violence. People don't start off violent. We are naturally loving, caring people. Us speaking as black people, we naturally are nurturers. So to turn us that way, you have to literally shape and mold the environment for us to express those type of genealogies. And that's what happened. So, you know, I don't want to shun gangs. I'm not in a gang no more, so I can't really speak on gang politics because that's against gang rules. I'm not a gangster. I'm not a thug. I'm not a killer. I'm a lover, and I love my brothers and sisters and my people. I'm here to keep us together. But I really can't say nothing bad about the thought of gangs because I know the purpose of the creation, and that was to uplift the black community.
Talk.